So today we're going to be doing something a little bit different. Usually I like to review or react movies and TV shows, but this time around I'm going to be doing a breakdown of an iceberg chart for the film Morbius. If you don't know what an iceberg chart is, basically it's a chart where there's a bunch of topics and theories and ideas that are listed on this iceberg, with the most well-known being at the top, the tip of the iceberg, and the further down you get, the more obscure it gets. And so now today we're going to be breaking down the Morbius iceberg chart. Morbius is the greatest movie of all time. So during the release of Morbius in theaters, there were tons of people that kept praising this film as being one of the greatest movies to ever come out. It was getting a lot of high praise on a lot of websites like Rotten Tomatoes, IMDb, and Letterboxd. People were making memes about Morbius getting over 200% on Rotten Tomatoes. And ironically, a lot of the people making the reviews praising Morbius didn't actually see the film. And it's more of just a joke to talk about how great the movie is, when in actuality, they're just overhyping a mediocre movie. Hashtag Morbius Sweep. So hashtag Morbius Sweep became an online trend that took the internet by storm. So this hashtag started on Twitter and it was on the trending tab for days. I have personally seen hashtag Morbius Sweep trend on Twitter for multiple days, and of course the hashtag would spread to other sites like TikTok and YouTube. The popularity of hashtag Morbius Sweep became a very iconic catchphrase that a lot of Morbius fans like to say. It's Morbin time. It's Morbin time, the most iconic line of the film, is not really in the film. There were tons of memes that came out saying that It's Morbin time was the best part of the film. People have made fake screenshots and fan edits of Morbius saying it's Morbin time.
It's Morbin time.
And It's Morbin time became so popular that people who have never seen the film actually think it's in the film.
I really thought they said it's Morbin time in the movie.
Yeah, I thought so too. They don't say it.
I thought so as well.
Yeah, I thought that was an actual line that people were memeing.
For the longest time, I thought, oh, it's just a line in the movie. It's just that bad.
Time,
Yeah.
I really thought.
So I had no idea.
What time?
It's Morbin time. Apparently, it's a meme, isn't it?
It's a meme. Yeah, I didn't know very recently what it was either, but it's huge.
Is that a line from one of your films?
No, it's not even in the film. I mean,
Spider-Man villain. Morbius was originally a Spider-Man villain, first appearing in The Amazing Spider-Man issue 101. Over time, he would be the star of his own comic, Adventures into Fear, issue number 20. Vulture scene. The vulture scene is probably the most controversial aspect of this film, so let me add some context. During the promotion of Morbius, Vulture from Spider-Man Homecoming was shown constantly, a sort of hint that Morbius could possibly take place in the MCU. However, the film later on reveals that Vulture was actually brought into the Sonyverse because of Doctor Strange's spell in No Way Home. I think Sony promoting Vulture in their material for Morbius, yet again trying to trick the audience into thinking that Morbius is part of the MCU when in actuality he's not, and instead they exist with their own cinematic universe, but still trying to trick the MCU fan base into going to watch this movie because it's supposed to be part of their universe when in actuality it isn't, is a very scummy thing to do. I think it's really scummy to trick your audience into thinking that this is the latest installment of one series or one franchise instead of being its own thing. I personally think that it's very scummy since the character only shows up for less than 5 minutes in the film. More $1 billion, another meme that became popular after the release of the film. So people were joking about saying that Morbius was the highest grossing film of all time, surpassing Avatar and Avengers Endgame, and that the film didn't make $1 billion, but instead made more $1 billion. More $1 billion basically kickstarted Morb being a prefix for other words, and the word Morb being a catchphrase that a lot of Morbius fans like to say. Morbius 24/7. So Morbius 24/7 was a Twitch channel that literally live streamed the entire film on repeat for 2.5 days. So anyone on Twitch could just watch Morbius for free if they searched up this channel. Eventually the channel was taken down by Twitch itself because of copyright infringement, but I think it's funny that an entire channel was just dedicated just to show off this movie to the public. Unfortunately, I never knew about this channel until after it was taken down, but nonetheless, I think it's pretty funny. Jared Leto pushed in a wheelchair. So during the filming of Morbius, Jared Leto would be pushed around set in a wheelchair, and the reason why is because Jared Leto deems himself as a method actor, so he needs to get into the mindset and in a weird way body set of the character he's playing. The character of Michael Morbius, before he gets his powers, is someone who has difficulty walking, so he uses crutches, and around set they had to negotiate for him to use a wheelchair because it would halt production. Jared Leto pretending to be disabled would literally halt production on set. So that is why they decided to put him in a wheelchair behind the camera. I'm gonna drop in a clip of another YouTuber narrating an article in which they interview the director Daniel Espinosa on his take about this rumor.
I heard a story about filming and I want to see if this is true. Someone told me that Jared Leto was so committed to playing Michael Morbius that even when he had to go to the bathroom, he would use his crutches and slowly limp to get to the bathroom. But it was taking so long between for pee breaks that a deal was made with him to get a wheelchair so someone could wheel him there quicker. And he agreed to that. Is this true? And the director said yes, and the interviewer's response was all right.
A link to the rest of the article will be in the description down below if you're interested. Pokemon influence. The director Daniel Espinosa and his daughter are huge fans of Pokemon, and that sort of influenced the film. So there are a lot of Pokemon / anime style influence into Morbius's power and his moveset that the director incorporated when adapting this character. Morbheads. Morbheads is the name of the Morbius fandom, so this video is dedicated to all you Morbheads out there. Morb dance. So in the film, the character Milo has a dancing scene after getting his powers, and it is by far the funniest scene in the entire film. You could tell that Matt Smith was having fun with this scene. The song X by Off the Meds was played in the background, and of course this kickstarted another trend in which people will go on TikTok and use the song to replicate the dance scene that Milo did in the film. A lot of people really like this scene because it reminds them a lot of Bully Maguire's dance scene from Spider-Man 3, and I can get that. They're both pretty iconic moments of their own films. Morbius Theater Cup. It's whatever. It's just theater merch. That's all it is. Martin Scorsese. A while back, Martin Scorsese heavily criticized the MCU, comparing them more to theme park rides than actual cinema. During the release of Morbius, a tweet quoted Martin Scorsese stating, and I'm going to read the tweet for you, "I was aghast to find out it was based on a comic book. This is the truest height of cinema and even I cannot top it. A wise man admits when he is wrong, and I was wrong. I apologize to all comic book movies." Here's the thing, guys. That tweet was a big joke. Martin Scorsese never said any of that. However, Tyrese, one of the actors of the film, thought it was real, and so he posted it to his personal Instagram. Eventually, he would take it down after people in the comments kept telling him that this tweet was a joke, it was not real. Martin said none of this. However, the fact that one of the stars of the film legit thought that Martin Scorsese said this and posted on their personal social media is by far one of the funniest things to come out of this film. Fubuki interview. The Fubuki interview was an interview conducted by Fubuki Shirakami, I think that's how you pronounce it, a VTuber. Fubuki conducted an interview with Jared Leto during the promotion of Morbius, and it's really awkward. The energy is off because Fubuki is all hyper and excited, while Jared is just confused and awkward, and I kind of don't blame Jared Leto for this because he probably doesn't know up until that point what a VTuber was. He's completely caught off guard when this interview starts, and it just gets more and more awkward as the interview goes on, and I could barely get past 2 minutes without cringing.
Do you have a tail, or is that your hair in the back?
Ah, ほら髪の毛と下に尻尾があります。
Hair and a tail. Wow. The best of both worlds.
Yeah, it's a very weird interview. Milo was originally Loxia's crown. So the character Milo was originally Loxia's crown, but the script went through so many changes that Loxias eventually turned into Milo. The only thing that these two characters have in common is the fact that they got their powers through Morbius. That's about it. Loxia's crown is actually a Hydra agent in the comics, and I can understand why they had to change his backstory because Hydra is owned by Disney, not Sony. And Milo's relationship with Morbius is very close. They're foster brothers. Compared to the relationship between Morbius and Loxias in the comics, they barely have one. They're just a typical anti-hero versus villain. That's about it. Daily Bugle promotional TikTok account. So during the promotion for Spider-Man No Way Home, there was a Daily Bugle TikTok account that would promote the film with Betty Brant being the host of the channel and would feature characters like Peter Parker, Flash Thompson, and Ned Leeds. However, when it came time to promote Morbius, the role of host was passed on to Nikki Morena, who is a popular TikToker. None of the characters of the film ever showed up in the TikTok videos outside of footage from the film itself. And honestly, Nikki Morena deserves a big check from Sony for basically carrying that entire channel after the hype from No Way Home died down. Set to appear in Blade 1998. So Blade is an awesome movie, and it honestly paved the way for the modern superhero genre we see today, so it deserves its credit where credit is due. However, there was an alternate ending in which Morbius was set up for the sequel, Now listen, I love Blade 2, it's a great film, but sometimes I wonder what would have happened if they kept that scene in, and how would a Blade versus Morbius film look like back then. But I think by far the funniest fact is the fact that Morbius was supposed to set up and be this in the second installment of Blade, and Spider-Man, the original Spider-Man movie, came out in 2002. Had they kept that scene in, Morbius would have appeared on the big screen before Spider-Man. Keep that in mind. Had they kept the scene from Blade in, Morbius would have appeared on the big screen before Spider-Man. There's a timeline out there in which that happened. Matt Smith got morbed at San Diego Comic-Con. So during San Diego Comic-Con, at a panel for House of the Dragon, a prequel series of Game of Thrones, a fan went up during the Q&A section and told Matt Smith it's Morbin time.
Matt, guess what? It's Morbin time. Alright.
It's what? What?
You starred in a movie recently called Morbius, which is great.
Oh yeah.
Alright,
I would say with deep irony, was it?
Alright, I gotta get to my question. My question for you is, how would your character in Morbius fit well into the Game of Thrones universe?
Well, I mean, he's a vampire, so I think he'd struggle first off. I don't know really, how would he fit well into the Game of Thrones universe? That's a very good question.
So imagine you're Matt Smith, all right? This is his point of view. You're on a panel for a prequel series to one of the biggest shows of all time, and you're also the main character to one of the biggest franchises out there. He was Doctor Who for a time, and the 60th anniversary for Doctor Who is coming up. So in your mind, you're thinking, I'm gonna get a fan that's like a diehard Game of Thrones or Doctor Who fan is gonna ask me a question. He's waiting for someone to ask him a question about those subjects. And the first question he gets is some guy yelling, it's Morbin time, in a movie that you starred in that bombed in theaters twice. I just think it's hilarious. I just find it hilarious. Vampire Tales. Vampire Tales was a comic magazine that featured characters like Morbius, Dracula, and Blade. The comic was published by Magazine Management, a sibling company of Marvel Comics. Legion of Monsters. The Legion of Monsters is a superhero team made up of many supernatural characters from Marvel, such as Ghost Rider, Werewolf by Night, Man-Thing, and especially Morbius. There have been 2 iterations of the superhero team. The first time they appeared was in the 70s, and the second time they appeared was in 2010. Morbius re-release. Since the memes of Morbius went viral, this got the attention of Jared Leto and a lot of executives at Sony Pictures. This led to Morbius re-release in theaters, which flopped horribly and making about $85,000, which is about $289 per theater. A petition for re-releasing the film a third time was shared around the internet, and it got over 30,000 signatures. Jared Leto teases Morbius 2. So Jared Leto uploaded a video of him reading a script, and the camera woman asks, what is he reading? And he tries to hide the cover, but is later revealed that it's Morbius 2, it's Morbin time.
What are you reading?
Nothing really, just
What are you reading?
Obviously, this is just a joke, and it's the ultimate how do you do fellow kids moment. Honestly, the fact that Jared Leto knows that the memes about this movie are popular, but he doesn't know why they're popular, is pretty funny in my opinion. Morbius 2, do not research. Morbius didn't do well in theaters, and it's the first movie to flop in theaters twice, an accomplishment in of itself. Since the film did horribly in theaters and with critics, most likely there won't be a sequel. There are rumors, however, of making a sequel and then releasing it directly through streaming. During CinemaCon, Sony announced many upcoming projects such as Across the Spider-Verse and Beyond the Spider-Verse, Kraven the Hunter, El Muerto, Madam Web, and Venom 3. However, Morbius 2 was not mentioned at all, so leaving the character and future projects with the character up in the air. Which leaves us to our final entry in the iceberg. Morbius isn't actually good. Now, here's my opinion about Morbius. I think the film is forgettable. I think the film is not bad, it's not the worst film ever made, it's not horrible, but at the same time it's not high art. It's not this amazing masterpiece that a lot of the fans like to praise it as. To me, Morbius is a very forgettable film. I watched it at home, I didn't watch it in theaters, and I enjoyed for what it was, but for the most part, I'm not going to remember much about it, and I wouldn't mind playing it in the background, but that's about it. However, I want to know, why is this film, out of all the films, getting so much attention, and why is it contributing to so much memes that we see today? Now, remember, this film was supposed to come out back in 2020, and because the pandemic delayed this film, we just kept seeing more and more advertisement for this film, and people got really sick and tired of seeing Morbius trailers and teasers all over the place for 2.5 years. I think that the contempt for the promotion for this movie, along with the contempt for Jared Leto because he's in the middle of a lot of controversy as of lately, caused a lot of people to just dogpile this movie, but not dogpile in the way you would think of, but like talk trash about it, talk it horribly, but rather try to overhype it so that way expectations can be super, super high. So when the film comes out, all those expectations just drop and then everyone just hates this film. However, the hype up of expectations led to the film becoming such a meme icon that it's now very entertaining to watch when you digested the memes. When you know all of the references, the film becomes 10 times better in my opinion. So overall, if you like the film, enjoy it, have fun with it, watch it as 50 times as you can, watch it 100 times if you can. Do what you like with that film. If you hate the film, fine, go ahead, say you hate it. If you want to say it's the worst film ever, I'm not going to stop you. However, I'm more of the middle in the road. And if you like or hate Morbius, comment down below and let me know why you like it or why you hate it. What is your favorite meme to come out of this movie? Please like and subscribe. Stay tuned for more. I'm going to be uploading more reviews, more reaction, and of course more Iceberg breakdowns. And I will see you in another video. Peace.